One Hearth-swarming Eve, Part 2. There was something about this pony. This mare had brought him, a complete stranger, into her home with such joy. She obviously enjoyed having company, even if that company came in the form of the wandering pile of frost that was himself. She hadn't hesitated, even for an instant, to accept him as a friendly figure, and not a potential thief like so many others believed he was. Chase stared at his reflection in the water. It lazily met his gaze with tired eyes, lacking any kind of energy that his host had. That had to change, at least for one day where he could be an accepted pony again. He sucked in a mouthful of air and plunged into the bubbly surface of the bath, only springing up when his air supply ran out. Chase glanced down at his panting reflection and was met by a different stallion than before. It looked like him, but his drenched mane was now slicked down the back of his head, and his eyes, the icy stare must have melted away with the warm water. He leaned back against the wooden rim of the bath and closed his eyes, eagerly accepting the creative powers of the water to heal the remaining aches in his travel-worn body. A knock at the door broke him away from his near sleep. A whisper followed.
"Chase, it's been a long time. You didn't drown or anything, did you?"
The stallion sighed happily. "No, I'm fine, thanks. I'll be out in a sec." A short moment passed before another whisper came.
"Okay."
The stallion splashed away some approaching bubbles as he contemplated whether to stay a little while longer or grab his meal. His stomach once again growled, as if the choice wasn't obvious enough. He shook his head and reluctantly hopped out of the water, breathing in a silent farewell to it, and grabbed a towel from a hook on the wall. He quickly dried himself off before tossing the towel back to where it had been, and opening the door. A pleasant aroma teased his senses as he made his way down the stairs to the dining area. A simple platter lay on one of the few scattered tables by a window. Fresh cupcakes were neatly arranged on it and ready for consumption. He took a seat at the table and stared at the plate of deliciousness in front of him. Each individual cupcake pleaded to be eaten, and his stomach grew more and more impatient by the second. Chase tried to avoid the urge to grab one of the frosted treats. In a past time, he was quite the gentle colt, but now, with all the alluring smells coming from the brightly colored treats, he couldn't resist. He grabbed his first of many victims and chomped into it. He wasn't one for sweets, but the sugary frosting, coupled with the moistness of the cupcake, was a taste to behold. Or it could have been the fact that he was on the verge of starvation. He couldn't quite tell. He finished his first cupcake and reached for another, and then another, and before he knew it, there were only a couple remaining. He looked down at the cupcake already in his hoof and sighed. His host was being kind enough to give him food, and he couldn't even wait for her before eating all of his and half of her cupcakes. He made a mental note to apologize later. The door to the back room, what Chase assumed to be a kitchen, opened, revealing the smiling form of his gracious pink host.
"Oh, you're out of the bath now. And wow, you already ate all those? You almost eat them as fast as me."
She giggled, reaching behind her and grabbing another platter of cupcakes that was balanced on her back.
"Well, don't worry, I baked another batch for us."
Pinky placed the platter of rejuvenating pastries down between them and took a seat.
"You really liked those, didn't you?"
She giggled. "Oh yeah, they were actually really good. I'm sorry for eating all—" Wait, why are you laughing? The answer came when he noticed his reflection in the window wearing a beard of many colored icings. "Oh," he blushed and reached for a napkin to wipe the mess away.
No biggie."
Pinky chirped.
"Happens to me all the time."
Chase placed the napkin down and rested his head on his hoof and started to stare into the white blanket outside. The snow had already exponentially grown heavier. His hoofprints from only an hour ago had already been completely covered by fresh powder. He silently thanked Celestia for this early hearth-warming gift. He glanced back at Pinky, who was happily munching away on her first cupcake. He cleared his throat. So, is this your place?" Pinky swallowed her treat and shook her head, reaching for another cupcake.
"Oh no, Mr. and Mrs. Cake own this place. I just live and work here."
"Ah, so I guess the foals you were talking about are theirs?"
Yipperoonie. I'm just their full sitter. They're the cutest things you've ever seen,
she exclaimed. Her smile must have been contagious because he couldn't help but do the same. He could tell this mare loved ponies. She was just so happy and carefree, and always seemed to be in high spirits. It was refreshing. He glanced back out the window and watched the snowflakes fall. His eyes grew heavier as if the weight of the snow was building up on them. Soon, his eyes would collapse under the pressure and he'd be off to the land of dreams and nightmares. The supports that kept him awake slowly gave way, and his head began to slant downward. That is, until new support was mentally placed in his mind, Pinky's voice.
So, where are you from, Chase?
The stallion flinched and removed his hoof. Huh? Oh, I'm from Philadelphia.
Ooh!
The mare whistled.
That's far away. How'd you get here? Oh, that was a silly question. You probably took the train.
Chase sighed and slowly shook his head. No, I didn't take the train. I walked.
Walked?
Pinky gasped.
Why would you walk that far?
Because I decided to.
But why?
The stallion sighed. Look, I don't mean to be rude, but I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay, but still, I don't know why you would walk that far.
It's complicated, Chase said, burying his head into his hoofs. Please don't make me explain it. The pink pony sat back into her seat, ears wilting.
Okay.
The room grew quiet, an eerie kind of quiet that reminded him of his lonely nights wandering the empty fields of Equestria. The only sound to occasionally break that silence was the whistling of the growling storm outside. Chase sighed and let his hooves drop back to the table. He looked up. Pinky was staring helplessly down at her side of the table. He shook his head. There was no way he was going to get out of explaining this.